Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome or welcome back to Tarot Magpie. I hope you're doing good. Today's video is going to be another one of my mini collection selection type videos, and today it's like one part Valentine's Day vibes and one part a bit of a response to Tara and Kelsey and their cozy capsule cards. Cozy capsule cards and coziness. Okay, it's capsule cards and coziness. And their theme for February is warm embrace. And so it's also kind of inspired by that. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 decks. That seems like a lot. And I'm going to take you through them. So first off, we have the obvious Valentine's Day contenders. The Tarot of Aphrodite. This is the first edition that came out last year, and obviously I'm doing the Valentine's ones first to get them out of the way because they are pretty obvious contenders for a Valentine's Day themed selection of decks. It's the Tarot of Aphrodite, it's pink. I love this deck. This also works under the umbrella of a warm embrace, because there is something about this deck that just feels very comfortable. I don't know, there's something about reading this deck that feels that kind of way to me. This actually sits on my little Aphrodite space. It's kind of hers, but I'm looking forward to pulling this out and connecting with that energy a little bit. The second obvious contender for Valentine's Day vibes is the Goddess of Love Tarot. Again, Valentine's Day, love. This is specifically a book and deck for embodying the erotic divine feminine. It's very focused on love magic and sex magic, so visually you can see it fits the vibes. It's a lot of red and pink and roses, and a lot of love goddesses, and also thematically it fits the vibes. I adore this Six of Swords so very much. This one I spoke about fairly recently in my neglected decks video, I think it was, because I feel like I had a very brief love affair with this deck when I first got it, but I had a lot of decks come in the last quarter of the year, and so I just feel like it hasn't had the sustained attention that I feel it deserves. Obviously it's perfect for a Valentine's Day kind of a themed collection. I love this Queen of Swords so much. I'm not actually a huge one for Valentine's Day generally. I'm doing I think specifically a Lego flowers gift exchange with my partner, and we're gonna have a virtual date because I'm not gonna be up there for Valentine's Day this year. But I'm not huge on Valentine's Day, but I do love the aesthetics. This is exactly my vibe. I was very tempted to basically pull out every pink red deck that I had in my collection, but I didn't. I restrained myself from doing that. But it was a close thing. A close call, a near thing. The Fyodor Pavlov also feels appropriate for Valentine's energy, because the art style is it just feels very romantic. Why is the tower sitting on top? Just the art style feels very romantic. Also, it's a very beautiful luxe thing. Also thinking about the idea of warm embrace as a theme, I feel the luxeness of this deck really works with that as well. And it's a very beautiful deck in my collection. It's a very lovely object, and I think the art style just fits really well with the kind of theme I'm going for this video. So that is the Fyodor Pavlov. I'm going to keep it out actually, because that brings me nicely into the first Oracle deck I want to show off in this little collection. This is the Citadel Oracle. This is a liminal 11 deck, and this has a fantasy theme to it, but I really like this with the Fyodor Pavlov. And I also selected this oracle under the banner of a warm embrace because I'm taking the word embrace very literally. I love holding this deck. It's such a lovely size. It's such a comfortable deck to hold. And it also pairs really well with the Fyodor Pavlov, which I feel like has that romantic kind of vibe. But I really like them together. Even though this is on a white background and this is this creamy colour, I think they work really well because of all that black detailing. And then you get the pops of colour in the Fyodor Pavlov. There's just like one colour highlighted on each card, and then there's the gold foiling, or it's more of like a coppery foiling because there's gold on the back of the Pavlov, and then this gorgeous coppery foiling on the front of the Citadel. Taking command and teamwork with the Six of Pentacles and the Three of Swords. That feels like a little bit of a grim proposition. Unknown, a journey. Yeah, so this is definitely a pair that I'm going to be playing with for the foreseeable. As always, when I do these videos, they're not necessarily strictly like I'm definitely playing it fast and loose with the idea of a capsule collection here, because I will undoubtedly pull from other decks during February. Oh, I like Perfectionism and Burnout with Justice and the Seven of Wands. That feels meaty. Yeah, I'm playing it fast and loose with the idea of a capsule. I probably will pull from other decks, but I like to do these. I do a lot of these videos, these selections on a theme, because I really like to collect and curate a vibe, an aesthetic, or what have you. That's just the way that I am. So it kind of feeds that with me. But also I like to go through my collection and play with what I've got. It's a really fun way of playing with the cards that I've got and seeing how I can make different decks work for different kind of themes or situations and what kind of pairings I can come up with. I love it. So that is the Fyodor Pavlov and the Citadel Oracle. All right, who is next? Warm Embrace. This one I wasn't sure about kind of keeping in this little selection, but I decided to go for it. This is the Raven's Prophecy Tarot. Again, the size is nice to hold, and this is for a few reasons. Partly the color palette, the black backgrounds, the dark colors with these orange borders, and a lot of the colors in the cards are quite warm and quite rich. So it kind of works on that level. But also, and I've spoken about this before, and I think this was also on my neglected decks video, this deck is by Maggie Stiefvater and is based on the Raven Cycle book series that she wrote. And I love that book series. It's a very fond and familiar book series to me. And so working with this deck feels like quite familiar, not necessarily comfortable. It can be quite confronting, but it feels familiar. It feels like I'm revisiting something that I know quite well, because I am. So it kind of fits with the energy of a warm embrace in that sense. Like I'm returning to something that I know and that I feel like knows me. And this deck can, it can be a bit tough love when it needs to, but it does still have that energy of inviting me in almost. So, and I love this Two of Cups. This one, eventually, I decided had to make the cut. Another fond and familiar deck. This is the Guardian of the Night Tarot by MJ Cullinane. This is the mass market version. I talk about this all the bloody time, but this is my most comforting deck. The deck that I have reached for the most in times where I need like a hug, when I'm feeling a bit vulnerable, when I'm feeling like I need some reassurance. And again, it's a tarot deck. It has the same 78 cards, Three of Swords right there. The same cards as any other deck. It has all the so-called negative cards, but I feel like it approaches them from a much more compassionate place, especially in the guidebook. And so it is a deck that I feel like is going to help me through the difficult cards. And if they come up, it's not going to be like, I don't feel like I'm being attacked by my deck with this one. I feel like, yeah, this is shit I probably need to look at. These are issues that I definitely need to address. And I feel capable of doing that with this deck. It doesn't feel too intense and overwhelming. So this is the Guardian of the Night. Like I said, I've spoken about this a lot. So I'm going to leave it there, I think. Okay, we're getting there. This is the second and final oracle in this little mini collection. This is the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle cards. So despite the fact that I live in England and the ocean is never warm, the being by the sea is so comforting to me, is so like healing for me, that the energy is that of a warm embrace, even if for like a good majority of the year being by the sea is like quite a physically intense experience. You're either being bashed about by winds and sand in your face, or the sea itself is freezing. So but I love being near the sea. I really miss being within walking distance of the beach. And I also really like the keywords and the phrases on these cards. They definitely fit that feeling of a warm embrace. It just feels, again, very compassionate. This skews quite, like, not positive in itself necessarily, but the feeling I get from this deck is quite look on the bright side. But it manages to do it in a way that doesn't like frustrate me. I don't feel like I'm being patronized. And I love the images. And I find it really easy with this deck to read the little message, look at the image and imagine myself there. And, you know, picture myself being there and feeling the sentiment from being in where the image is. Does that make sense? Like, I can imagine exploring this gorgeous area and like alive and delight and vitality. Like, yes, absolutely. May the horizon always sustain you, which I just think is a beautiful little phrase. But yeah, like, this is just it's a very sustaining deck. Like, I feel like the sea is spiritually sustaining to me, and this deck gives me that as best as it can. This deck also pairs really nicely with the Tarot of Aphrodite, because, you know, the sea. And it also pairs really nicely with the Goddess of Love Tarot, because there's a lot of photographic elements in that deck, and the cup suit all has this like sea background. So this oracle pairs really nicely with two of the decks I've got, which is a nice, it fits with that capsule idea, you know? I've got the Squid Cake Marseille, which I need to zoom in for because it's such a wee little deck. So first of all, once again, the size, it's so comfy to hold. I love holding this deck. So a warm embrace right off the bat. Secondly, and oh, the moon. It's not a very warm embrace of you, or the devil. Okay, so I've spoken about this. I remember I've spoken about this before, probably way back when, in the late spring, early summer of last year, when I was sort of first using this deck. And I was going through a bit of a tricky time where I was feeling very, very not great. And something about reading Marseille during that time was quite soothing to my nervous system in a way. And so I have that association with this deck in particular. I've got a couple other Marseille decks, but this is the deck that evokes that feeling for me. I think it's perhaps the simplicity of the imagery, in the sense that it's a lot of repeated symbols, obviously, as is the nature of a pip deck. So it's not so overwhelming to look at in that way. And the fact of, like, I'm not proficient in Marseille. I'm not fluent in Marseille. So I have to kind of look up the cards and slowly and quite methodically work through how to read like Marseille cards. And so that also is quite a nice way of slowing my brain down, which with like a Rider-Waite Smith based system, which I, you know, am proficient in, I would say, it's very easy for all the various different associations to pop up in my head, and I'm having thoughts faster than I can look at them, which, you know, is just the way my brain works, but sometimes that really isn't feeling very helpful. So having a Marseille, having this specific Marseille to like go to be able to just shuffle through, pull some cards. I also just like shuffling through this deck and looking at the artwork, like it became quite a soothing deck for me. Like I say, this deck is good for my nervous system. So when I was thinking about a warm embrace kind of decks, this one had to make the cut. And I adore this Two of Cups with the little boasties. And it's pink, so it fits the Valentine's vibes as well. It is just absolutely, I think this is the cutest deck that I've got. I've got several pink decks, but this is just so cute. All right, and finally, I had to pull out a Rider-Waite Smith. This is the Groovy Weight by Tarot Collectibles. This is very sparkly, so it's gonna be difficult under the lights. But like I say, I'm proficient with Rider-Waite Smith. I feel comfortable saying that. And you know, sometimes you just want something that is easy. Obviously, this is a take on the Rider-Waite Smith. This is not Pixie's original artwork. This is this kind of groovy, psychedelic-y spin on it. But all the essential components are there. And so it is really easy to just read the Rider-Waite Smith imagery because it's right there on the card. I adore this Three of Wands. And like, to be fair, this is even quite a positive 10 of cards with the way they've done the sun. But yeah, like I had to have a Rider-Waite Smith in the mix. And I love me a Tarot Collectibles deck. As we know, I've got quite the collection of them. And also, like, it's fun, it's sparkly, it's like pink. It also fits the like Valentine's vibes. I was very tempted to pull out the Spring Weight because that's also just really cute. But I'm saving that for when it gets officially into spring. So this is going to see me through for the moment, and then come springtime I can pull out the Spring Weight. But yeah, this is the final deck in my little capsule selection for February. Like I say, I know I do these little capsule selections all the time. I just enjoy going through all of my decks and like pulling them together into little collections. But I'm definitely going to try and focus on these for the next few weeks. I feel like my practice as a whole it slowed down in January. For various different reasons, my practice slowed down in January, and I'm planning on filming a video about that a little bit, which I'm kind of putting off because it's a little bit vulnerable. But I think I want to do that. So, you know, watch this space. But I'm excited to get back into more of a daily practice, which I really haven't had since December. So that will be nice. And I've got some good pairings to start me off with because I like to do a tarot and oracle pairing in my daily drawer. So I've got some good ones ready to go. Okay, so that is it from me. That's my little capsule selection, and I'm looking forward to working with it. I'll let you go. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this. Once again, thank you to Tara and Kelsey for, I guess, coming up with this concept and making it public and sharing it with us, because it's really fun. I love a theme. I love to curate, so it's right up my street. And yeah, I'm wishing you all a February in which you feel cared for, because I think that's generally the vibe that I was going for here, and January can be rough, so I'm sure I'm not the only one who needs that. But anyhow, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for spending some time with me. Give me a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.